I was in Miss Brown's history class when the lockdown announcement crackled over the intercom speakers inside. My name is Brianna, and I watched as my teacher stepped in front of the light switch with a very cold expression. The voice on the speaker said, "This was not a drill, but Miss Brown told us to stay in our seats or be expelled." We had done this drill 100 times since kindergarten, and we knew that we had to turn off the lights fast. She claimed she did not approve any drills today, and she forced us to continue with our class presentations. Suddenly, my phone started buzzing under my desk, and I saw a text from my boyfriend Tyler, who was 2 halls away. He told me he was hiding in a supply closet because someone had a gun, and my blood began to freeze in my veins. I showed Miss Brown the text, but she called it an elaborate prank meant to get her fired from her teaching job. Then we heard the loud popping sounds like firecrackers, and someone screamed a terrible scream in the hallway. My friend Ben begged her to let us hide, but she told him that feelings are not facts, and he must sit down now. We heard many feet running in the hallway outside, and the intercom crackled again before cutting out entirely. The pops turned into loud bangs like a metal door slamming, and I knew that the danger was getting very close. I stood up and told her we needed to hide, but she moved to block the light switch with her entire small body. Something in me snapped, and I sprinted for the lights while everyone else rushed to the safe corner of the room. I yanked her arm away and flipped the switch, and we sat in total darkness while she yelled about disrespect. We dragged the heavy desks across the floor to barricade the door while someone in the corner started praying. A shadow passed under the door, and the handle turned slowly, but the lock held, and my heart pounded in my ears. The SWAT team found us 40 minutes later, and Miss Brown was still babbling that we had overreacted to a drill. A paramedic wrapped a cuff around my arm, and I sat on a gurney outside while my whole body shook with terror. Detective Santos asked me to walk through everything that happened in the room while news vans arrived on site. My mom crashed through the police tape wearing her scrubs and grabbed me so hard that I could not even breathe. We soon learned the shooter was Jake Wilson, a quiet kid from my English class who sat in the back corner often. The detective showed me screenshots of my text to Tyler and said 23 other students told the same story. 2 kids died in the math hallway because they followed the protocol while we almost stayed exposed like them. That night, my dad made spaghetti, but I just pushed it around my plate while my phone kept buzzing with alerts. I could not sleep and just kept replaying those 47 minutes over and over in my head until the morning. Miss Brown appeared on the news telling a reporter that she maintained control while my mom threw the remote. The television screen cracked as my mom yelled about the lies being told while I watched a video from Tyler. The video showed other rooms in total darkness while Miss Brown's voice carried through the walls in the hall. We met with a lawyer named Rebecca Thompson who specialized in school safety cases and negligence lawsuits. Her office was covered in headlines about school violations, and she said Miss Brown's actions were criminal. The community meeting turned into complete chaos when Miss Brown walked through the doors with her union rep. Someone threw a water bottle at her, and the security guards had to form a circle to get her safely back outside. The detective called and asked if Miss Brown ever mentioned Jake Wilson before because he was her student once. The news confirmed that Jake had filed a formal complaint against Miss Brown 3 years ago for mental abuse. We found a school board transcript from 2021 that mentioned a sealed student complaint against her. Tyler and I sat in an empty mall parking lot while his knuckles went white, and he said she knew it was Jake. Our class group chat was filled with stories of how Miss Brown targeted students and failed them on technicalities. The detective arrived with a court order for her personnel file and said there were 6 other sealed complaints. I sat at my kitchen table with a blank statement form trying to describe how her voice changed during the event. The district placed her on administrative leave, but the union called it a rush to judgment against a veteran. Principal Foster showed up at our door looking like he had not slept and admitted that she was too rigid for years. Someone leaked Jake's manifesto, and it contained 3 pages about how Miss Brown failed him on his senior thesis. Our lawyer dropped a bomb that the district knew about Jake's fixation because his therapist sent a warning out. Miss Brown went on a podcast and called me a troubled student while twisting my grandmother's funeral details. Strangers started calling my house and calling me a crisis actor who was trying to destroy a teacher's career. Tyler came over to sleep on my floor because neither of us could handle being alone in the dark after that day. Her husband started a GoFundMe for her legal defense, and it hit $30,000 in just 6 hours' time. Ben's dad lost 3 major construction contracts after they joined the lawsuit, and his mom called us crying. Daniel showed me a grainy video he recorded from the main office monitor showing her walking calmly during it. I went to therapy and told Dr. Patel about the shadow under the door and her voice calling us hysterical. The video hit the internet, and Brown began trending as people zoomed in on her checking her phone then. The specialist showed me there was no startled response on her face when the gunshots went off in the hallway. My mom pulled me out for homeschooling, and we both ended up crying in the kitchen while the pasta boiled over. Her lawyer held a press conference and claimed the video was doctored while a state senator stood behind him. Tyler transferred to a private school, and we texted each other at 3 in the morning to check if we were okay. I found an old Reddit thread from 2019 where former students talked about her terrible mind games. The school board meeting was total chaos as parents screamed at each other about whether she was a real hero. Becca sat in the courtroom crying as a judge said it was not illegal for people to take photos of our doors. I recorded myself reading her transcript over the sounds of the gunshots and posted it to social media then. My video had 2 million views by noon, and other kids started showing what their brave teachers did that day. The district attorney filed 23 counts of reckless endangerment, and she turned herself in that day. She walked up the courthouse steps with a little smile on her face and all her teaching awards pinned on her. My mom went to the victim's family meetings and came back with puffy eyes every time without saying a word. Ben found Jake's old essay with her brutal notes in red pen about his lazy thinking and his failing future life. Principal Foster resigned and admitted that she should have been removed many years ago for her bad behavior. He filed a $5 million countersuit against the district, claiming they were scapegoating her for it. I started writing every word she said in an old notebook because my therapist said it would help me process. A website called Survivors of Room 203 launched with 37 stories from former students then. I did a news interview and told them how she chose her authority over our lives while the shots echoed out. FBI agent called and said Jake had texted a friend about her destroying him the night before it happened. News broke that her husband filed for divorce and moved out in the middle of the night to leave her behind. I went back to get my stuff and saw room 203 was still sealed with yellow crime scene tape then. An expert witness said she violated every protocol and showed gross negligence that endangered our young lives. The mother of a student who died collapsed on the steps when someone yelled that Miss Brown did no wrong. 23 of us sat in a circle and realized that our teacher was the only one who did not protect us. I stood at the state capitol and said that she weaponized her authority while a weapon was in our school hall. A custodian found footage from an old system showing Jake leaving her room in tears 3 years ago that day. The grand jury upgraded her charges to attempted murder through depraved indifference after hearing the facts. Tyler decided to take a gap year because he could not leave me to face the long trial alone in the city. The state board revoked her license permanently after she started yelling about cancel culture at the hearing. Detective Santos found the folder from 2009 about another student who tried to end her own life. A Facebook group grew to 200 members sharing stories of her tactics going back 25 years now. I met the families of Michael and Sophia, and we sat in their living room crying together for a full hour. The prosecution argued that she used us as human shields for her own ego because she would not be wrong. Tyler and I stood at the memorial holding hands while we read messages left by people from all over town. The trial started on a cold Monday, and the jurors put their hands over their mouths when the audio played. I testified for 4 hours and told them that I chose to live while she chose her own ego during the crisis. For the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes when the judge revoked her bail and she was cuffed again. Jury found her guilty on all 23 counts, and she fell down in her chair as they read the news. The judge gave her 18 years and said she would have to carry what she chose to do for the rest of it. Tyler and I are different now, though we are writing new chapters because we refuse to stay in our seats then. I am Brianna, and I know that standing up for what is right is the only way to truly survive the darkness.